guys, welcome to Saturday DFS show. Week 3 fantasy football is here. We are talking about the optimal plays at each position, value plays for DFS. No matter what platform you play on, this is going to get you guys covered because I'm going to tell you the value plays at each position and also the guys that have great matchups. So you may want to start and invest in them if you are playing daily fantasy sports. No matter what platform you're playing on, this is going to give you guys DFS help for NFL Week 3. Tons to cover here. Now, let's play a quick game before we start. I'm here on Prizepicks.com. Now, you can go create an account, use code DFSLion. I got a question for you. Drop it below here. James Robinson, over or under, more or less than 47.5 rushing yards. Austin Eckler, over or under, more or less than 52.5 rushing yards. Austin Eckler can't rush worth you know what, so I don't believe in him. And also DeAndre Swift, over or under 45.5. Let me know, drop it in the comments below. And it's that easy to set up a lineup, guys. Go to prizepicks.com, use code DFSLion, and they'll double your first deposit up to $100. Go try it, put 2 to 5 players together, and you can big time win. All right, guys? So it's prizepicks.com, DFSLion. Go create an account. Have fun. Just pick more or less, put a couple guys together, and win. It's that easy, guys. Super fun to play. Prizepicks.com, DFSLion. Secondly, guys, enhance that game watching experience. Head on over to mybookie.ag. They will double your first deposit. If you put $250 down, you get $500. That's crazy. So, mybookie.ag, use promo code, guys, FFC. Go create an account. This is what I use. This is what I believe in. FFC is the code. Go use it right now. mybookie.ag, FFC. Go create an account right now. Enhance that game watching experience. All right, let's start off with the quarterback position. If you're new to the channel, even if you're not, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up and subscribe right down below and let me know any starts and sits questions. I'll try to get to them as well because this is going to help you guys with your starts and sits as well. Ripping through it, guys. All right, Saturday. I know you guys want to go enjoy your day. You got a lot of running around to do. I'm sure I want to get you guys that bite-sized information. It's really going to help you guys get the edge in DFS. Even if you play Draftkings or Fanduel, it's going to help you. All right, starting off with the guys that have rougher matchups, just be aware. Lamar Jackson has a rougher matchup this week, but he's going to be expensive. He's going to be $8,000 coming off a big game. Now, typically, my experience, when players have massive games, they tend to decline the week after. Now, he's playing New England, 7th hardest versus position. Be aware. The expensive guys you may want to consider that have easy matchups, Josh Allen, he's $8,200, but he's been solid the first 2 weeks. He's a team that you want to anchor your DFS lineups around, okay? Jalen Hurts as well. Jalen Hurts, 2 monster games, easy matchup. Same with Kyler Murray, been really relatively solid, and the guy has got a relatively easy matchup, okay? 7th easiest versus position. So if you want to spend the money, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Kyler Murray are 3 guys you may want to consider to pick up on DFS if you're spending a lot of money. Now you're saying, well, Joe, I don't want to spend too much money on quarterback. Give me the value. Okay, so who's the value at quarterback for this week? It's very easy. If you want some value, don't want to spend as much, you could consider, now I don't really trust him that much, but it's a pretty easy matchup, Derek Carr. You may want to consider him. Now, this is a guy you may not want to trust as well, but he's super cheap, $5,200 on Draftkings. Matt Ryan, he's got the 5th easiest matchup versus position against KC, and that's it. But when you're looking at quarterbacks, guys, I like to anchor my team with that solid quarterback. I know I'm paying a lot, but the quarterback position is where I'd like to pay a little bit more and get that solid guy. So a Jalen Hurts and a Josh Allen would be good. Josh Allen, $8,200. If you want to save a little bit, Jalen Hurts at $76 on Draftkings, or Kyler Murray at $73. So, again, I'm going with one of those guys, all right? Moving on to running back, who do you start? This is where I think you got to bend, you got to flex a little bit because you need to have that budget filled. So, when I'm looking at this, I take a look at the expensive guys. Jonathan Taylor coming off a 7-point week last week. He's got the 12th easiest matchup for his position, I should say. You may want to consider him, but he's expensive, $9,000. I don't know, man. I'm still not sold. We had 1 good week, 1 bad week. Do we trust Jonathan Taylor this week? That's a big question mark. That's something that you got to make a decision on, okay? Now, other guys you may want to consider, Dalvin Cook coming off a crappy week, 8 points last week. He's expensive at $7,900, but 2nd easiest matchup versus position. Someone you may want to consider, boom or bust type of week, but easy matchup. Now, Joe Mixon I do like. He's got the 4th easiest matchup versus position, and he's playing the Jets. So he's expensive, but I may want to consider him, okay? Saquon Barkley, very expensive, but he's got a tough matchup. Nick Chubb, we already know he already played, so he's out of this anyway. I'm just looking at this list here. Forget him. DeAndre Swift, expensive. Do you trust him? At the end of the day, man, it's up to you. He's kind of like, he said, 30-point week, 17-point week, 14th hardest. He's a mid-range matchup, okay? So he is expensive, $7,200. He could get it done in the receiving game yet again. He's been pretty solid. Going back to that Nick Chubb, I have him up here for a reason here, right? So he had a tough matchup versus position, 8th hardest, and he still did well. So this is an example here to show you that even though they've got a tough matchup, they could still absolutely crush it for you, okay? So that's why Saquon Barkley, you can see he's redded out here. He's got a red, but he still got himself a tough matchup, but he's still going to be a guy that could really have a big game, all right? They're using him, right? So I'm not trying to deter you away from these guys. All I'm saying is you're taking a look at it and say, okay, well, this guy's expensive, like a Joe Mixon, but his matchup is favorable. So you may be swayed to go that direction and like it, okay? Value plays, $6,100. I like James Robinson in a mid-range matchup. Not bad. You look at a guy here, again, as an example, Najee Harris, who had the 4th easiest matchup versus position and only came up with 14 points. So, mind you, I think he was deducted on that fumble on that last play in the game. Very unfortunate special teams play. Some people got deducted, but it is what it is. And, sometimes they have good matchups and they're not doing well at all, okay? So when you look at, let's take a look at some value here. Let's give you some value here, right? Madison, Dalvin Cook has not been playing good, but $5,700 is very expensive. I'm not going to do it with Dalvin Cook there. Cam Akers, okay? He came alive last week, 8 points, $5,500, not bad, good matchup. I also like, Josh Jacobs, easiest matchup on paper theoretically versus Tennessee. Came up with an 8-pointer or 9-pointer week 1. Do you want to consider him? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if he's even good enough value for me. Again, easy matchup, but $5,400 on DraftKings, good value. Do you trust him, though, right? Maybe if you need that second running back in your lineup. Breece Hall, mid-range matchup. I like him this week, $5,300. I think people are sleeping on him. I like him and Dameon Pierce both. Now, Dameon Pierce has a better matchup this week versus Chicago. Dameon Pierce, I think now we saw that they're going to be using him. The coach loves him. I like him and Breece Hall. If you're going for a value running back this week, you may want to consider them, okay? They're due, they're young, they're hungry, and they're starting to get integrated. Now, Breece Hall was a little inflated on that receiving touchdown, but that may continue this week going into week 3. I think Breece Hall is going to be used a lot more. They believe in him. He's a second-round pick. He's going to be used. So those are my value guys. I like Breece and Dameon there, and if you want Jacobs, he's got an easy matchup, all right? Moving on to the wide receiver position, Cooper Kupp has been straight consistent past 2 weeks. 9th hardest matchup versus position versus Arizona. This is the week he's going to be tested, right? Is he going to continue? Even if he does or doesn't, he's expensive at $9,900 on DraftKings. Very expensive if you want to plug him in, but you got that consistency. If you want to save a few bucks, you got Jefferson and you got Devontae Adams, you got Stephon Diggs, and you got Jamar Chase. All slightly cheaper on DraftKings this week, and all relatively good matchups, all right? A.J. Brown, easy matchup, coming off a 12-point game. It's very volatile with those Eagles because they've got 3 decent receivers catching the ball with Devontae Smith and Watkins. So I'm wondering how much volume A.J. Brown's going to get, because something to be monitoring and watching. Amon-Ra St. Brown, mid-range matchup, also like him, and I also like Pittman this week. And with those guys, they're a lot better value, $7,200 and $6,900 on DraftKings. Amon-Ra, Michael Pittman at $69, good value. I'm still going to be starting for value. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Kirk coming off big weeks. Are they going to decline? Possibly this week, but I do like their matchups, mid-range matchups, and I like their position with their quarterbacks. They're getting a ton of volume, they're getting a ton of work, and they're going to be great this week. I also like Drake London having a good week. He's good value this week, mid-range matchup. Brandon Cooks for a bounce-back week versus Chicago, the primary target for Davis Mills, who's been getting ridiculed lately for his lack of performance and his decline based on his last year's end-of-the-season performance. So Brandon Cooks should take a step up. And as you can see here, Amari Cooper had a good matchup, third hardest versus position, and had a good game. So again, sometimes these matchups are favorable. When they're favorable, they succeed. When they're, tough, they still succeed. So knowing that they're favorable is definitely going to benefit you, okay? Another valuable guy here is Treylon Burks, 9 points, great value, $4,900. You may want to consider him. Treylon Burks, young rookie, starting to get more volume. We saw that last week, okay? Just to let you know, guys, heads up, Deebo Samuel, expensive at 78, Tyreek expensive at 76 on DraftKings. Both tough matchups versus position. Tyreek playing Buffalo. Going to see if Buffalo neutralizes him, and Deebo playing Denver. both tough matchups versus the secondary. Just be aware of that, all right? Moving on to the tight end position here. Again, I talk about this all the time. You definitely want to start a tight end that's going to be as consistent as possible. So if you can gear your budget towards a Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce, do that because there's a big fall off at the tight end position. A value play, I like Higbee this week. Logan Thomas had a good 13-point week. I like him. I like actually already played. David Njoku, he had an easy matchup. He already played. I'm looking at this. Again, I've got everything pulled up for the whole week, so that's why I'm referencing some of the Thursday games here. Kyle Pitts, okay, value this week, $4,800. Easy matchup versus position. This is a make or break week for Kyle Pitts. I've said it before. You may want to start him. Gerald Everett coming off 2 safe weeks. We got to monitor what happens with Herbert and the other wide receivers. If the wide receivers are banged up and Herbert plays, Everett's a plug and play, especially with Allen out. But I think Allen may be coming back. Take a look at that before game time. But Everett's a solid plug and play at that tight end position and decent value. All right. Hayden Hurst as well. Good value. Been safe the past couple weeks. So again, I like Higbee. I like, my starters, like my Kelce, Mark Andrews. If you want to roll the dice, take some risk and be daring, make or break week for Kyle Pitts this week. All right. Defenses to start and stream this week that have decent matchups on paper. Panthers at New Orleans. We know Winston's been very volatile. Jets at Cincy. We know Joe Burrow's been throwing a lot of picks. Jets could be a viable target at the defense, but still there's a lot of question marks with that offense. I don't really trust them. That defense and offense, I should say. Cardinals versus the Rams. Chiefs versus Indy. We saw Matt Ryan throw 3 picks last year, so a lot of the algorithm based on these matchups are predicated on the performances of the past 2 weeks. So the Chiefs could have a good matchup, could step up against Indy, who's been very volatile with Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan could turn it around. So something to think about, right? Raiders versus Tennessee. We saw, Tannehill throw a couple picks. Tennessee versus Vegas. Again, predicated on the past couple weeks, we saw Derek Carr throw a couple picks. So, again, this algorithm is really predicated, and the research that's done here is predicated on the matchups, okay, over the past 2 weeks, pretty much. Ravens versus New England, Bucks versus Green Bay, and Broncos versus San Fran. All decent matchups versus position, all right? Again, when you are playing DFS, guys, understand this, all right? No matter where you're playing. Now, hopefully you're playing on Prizepicks because it's the most fun way to play. As of late, I've been really, really on there. Prizepicks.com, DFS Lion. Some strategies here, again, I personally, if you're playing on other platforms, is I like to play and take risks, okay? Get those values with that high upsides. And also make sure you look at patterns. If a guy had a massive week last week or the past couple weeks, there's a chance they could have a recession the week after. So always kind of look at patterns. Say, hey, Darnell Mooney, there's another guy. Is his value up or down? Darnell Mooney, I'm probably considering him in DFS. He's a decent value, and he's been being slept on. He's had, 5 targets, 2 receptions the past couple games. Take a look at guys that have been they're good talent. They're slated high on the depth chart, but haven't got the opportunity. Make sure you get the value because they are potentially due for a breakout. Take a little bit of a risk there. That's okay. All right. So DFS guys, Saturday, make sure you're tuning in every Saturday. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Thumbs up. I appreciate it. And prizepicks.com, use code DFS Lion. Go create an account. They'll double your first deposit up to $100. I appreciate you guys. Subscribe. Thumbs up. Starts and sits questions below. We'll talk soon, guys. See you Monday. I'm out.